Smile, be, chat, join for networking.
Hi everybody, my name is Paula Cohen. I am a business coach and I want to share with you today one of the things that I work on with my clients. It's something that I'm particularly passionate about, and I know that passionate is probably a slightly overused word, but I'm hoping to show you today why it is that I am so passionate about this subject. And what it is for me is it's something that has an absolutely massive impact on small business. But the reason that I'm so passionate about it is that more often than not, the massive impact is actually a negative impact, but so many businesses don't realise the damage that they do. So what I want to actually talk to you today about is the joys of discounting. So let me ask you a question first of all. When you come to buy something, what is it that creates the feeling of value for you? What's value all about?
Worthwhile.
Worthwhile?
Getting more than you expect.
Getting more than you expect.
Solution for a problem.
A solution for a problem.
Price?
Price? Really? Now, my opinion personally is that value is not necessarily about price, but I think a lot of businesses fall into the trap of believing that is what value is all about. For me, it's about giving something more, it's about creating a benefit, it's about making the customer feel that they've had something which is really worthwhile. So I want to explain very quickly just the nitty-gritty, the actual physical impact of a discount. How much does this actually impact the bottom line of a business? But I also want to talk to you about what does a discount mean to the business compared to what it actually means to a customer, because I also think there's a huge mismatch in there. So I'll attempt a simple example. I'll attempt to keep myself on track and just give you a really quick and dirty example of the impact of a discount. So let's imagine that you sell a product for £100. I'm trying to keep these simple numbers. So you're selling a product for £100. It costs you £60 to sell that product. So it might be that you buy something for 60 and you sell it for 100. It might be that you're a service business, in which case your general overheads, your salaries, your fixed costs, your rents, all of that kind of stuff, it costs you £60 every time you deliver your service. So let's say those are your figures. You're selling something for £100, your costs are 60, so the profit is £40. Turn that into a percentage, your profit is 40%. So let's talk discounting, that wonderful subject. A typical discount, 10%, isn't it? That's kind of the across the board, the most typical discount you see everywhere is 10%. So what 10% discount does to that transaction is all of a sudden your selling price is now £90, but your overheads haven't changed at all. What's actually happened is your profit has now gone from £40 to £30, or from 40% to 30%. But if you think about the big picture, that's 25% of your profit you've just given away. What the customer's got is a 10% discount. And who thinks 10% discount is really exciting to a customer? It's actually no big deal. It's really not that big a deal. So the customer's not that excited. They're not going to go and tweet about it. That's not going to create a storm all over Facebook. It's not going to bring you a load of new business. It just basically strips money off your bottom line. But here's the even more damaging thing that people don't quite get, is if those are your figures, for you to make the same amount of profit that you started off with by selling at £100, just to get back to that same stage, if you discount everything by 10%, you have to now sell 33% more just to get back to where you started by giving away a 10% discount. So you've got to sell 33% more products. You've got to generate 33% more leads. You've got to convert 33% more of those into customers. You've got to spend 33% more time to make the same amount of money. So the impact is actually massive. But here's the really good thing. If you look at this on the flip side, the impact is just as big, but also far more favourable if you put 10% on instead of taking 10% off. If you put 10% on, then all of a sudden you're actually making 33% more profit for doing the same amount of work. So you actually make loads more money really quickly. So there's a couple of other crucial things to think about as well in terms of the joys of discounting. If you think about the perception, because really what customers think is the most crucial thing. What you think about yourself and your business is far less important than what your customer actually thinks and their perception. So if you think about the companies that you know out there that regularly, constantly discount, think about the ones you see on the TV all the time. 400 years interest-free credit. It's the Christmas sale, followed by the Easter sale, followed by the summer sale, followed by the autumn sale. What's your perception of the value of those businesses? What's your perception of the value of their product? Lower. Do you think their pricing is genuine? No. It's inflated, exactly. Does it lead you to actually question the integrity of that business? Yes. So the impact, when you put all of that together, the ending impact of all of that is discounting makes you a liar. Because your customer is always going to say, did I get the best deal? Could I have asked for 15%? Could I have got that thrown in? Did the next person get something better than me? Why didn't they give me their best price to start with? So discounting makes you a liar. I'll share with you a great example of how I kind of came to some of this realisation myself. Is I bought a car a few years ago, and I in my former life as a highly reputable banker, just before I left, I took advantage of using their lease cars to purchase myself a good value vehicle, but I went along to buy a new car. And of course, when you think about the whole discounting thing, and when you think about that sale, that transaction that's probably the ultimate in the combat sale, I'm going to win or they're going to win. Whoever gets the discount or gets the biggest deal is kind of the winner, aren't they? So I'm going in there to negotiate for my new car. New car, ultimate in getting my discount. So, I've put my sheepskin coat on, I'm all ready, I'm armed with my best strategy. I'm going to get an MOT thrown in, I'm going to get free mats thrown in, I'm going to get a big discount off the windscreen price. So go into the office all armed and ready. What's your best price on that? And the answer that I get is, that's the best price, we don't negotiate. And instantly I'm deflated. I think I've lost. This was a win or lose situation, so I must have lost. But actually 5 minutes later, what I think is, I got the best deal I could. That was a really genuine transaction. The next person that asked the same question as me would have got the same answer as me. I can be confident I got the best deal, and I believe in the integrity of that company. So let me also give you a slightly alternative view, because I know there are some businesses who feel under pressure to give a lot of discount, who feel that that's very industry sensitive, and all of our customers constantly want a discount, and maybe we won't win the business if we don't get it. So a couple of other things to think about. If your customer or your prospect only ever talks to you about price, that's because it's all that you've given them to talk about. If that's the only thing that they actually ask you a question about, it's because they don't know what other question to ask. So you haven't told them any more about the value that you create, about why you're different to your competition, about why they should actually choose to do business with you, and what it is you can really do for them. So if your customers are giving you too many questions or conversations purely around price, you really need to think about explaining your value in a different way and getting the message across about what's special and different and unique about you. I'll also give you one other little tip, which somebody said to me a few years ago, and all my clients get this hammered in. If 10% of your prospects are not telling you you're expensive, that means you're too cheap. If no one ever tells you you're too much, then you're actually too cheap. I'll give you a flip side example as well. I was working a few years ago with a hairdresser, and she came to me and said, should we do a discount campaign? Should we do the new Easter hairdo for women? We've got the kind of the £40 restyle and cut. What if we do a discount offer? Shall we offer 10%? It's the typical thing, 10%. So there's a few ladies in the room, there's a few gents who I'm sure spend lots of money on their hair.
40.
And there's a couple that don't. So picture yourself as the customer. It's a 40 quid hairdo. Somebody's offering £4 off. It's not a big deal, is it? But the same challenge again is her margins weren't huge. This was giving away a big chunk of profit. Customers not that excited. They're not going to bring all their friends along for that level of discount. So what we actually looked at is, forget about doing it that way. Look at creating an added value. Look at offering them something totally different. Let's change the ballpark completely here. So we looked at her various different products and looked at how to create a completely different offer. and actually really escalate the value. So what we discovered in the end is that one of her services was a spray tan. And that service to her, the actual cost to her to complete that service was £1.50. But it retailed at £20. So now instead of get £10 off your hairdo, it was get your hair done and get a free spray tan. So it's cost the business £1.50 instead of £4. The customer thinks they've got 20 quid of value, a whole other product. They're really excited, and that's the one that's going all over Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, you name it. That one's going wild on social media. So that's the real way to actually generate some interest and get those customers and get some great referrals. And one other crucial thing to bear in mind with discounting is the worst thing in the world that can happen is for you to offer discounts and for the customers who love discount to send their friends to you. Because if you think about who your customers are, typically speaking, the people that are the penny pinching discounters are usually the ones that always demand more of your time. Everything needs amending or upgrading or changing. They need this bit extra doing, they need that bit extra doing. They tend to be very demanding customers. Quite often they're also the worst payers. They make a big deal out of whether they're going to pay on time or not. So really the last thing you want in the world is for those kind of customers to bring you all their friends, because their friends are going to be exactly the same. Their friends are also going to be the penny pinchers, and then suddenly before you know it, you find that all of your customers are like that, and all of them are massive time stealers. But think about what I mentioned earlier, that sometimes a 10% increase in your price means you actually have to do 33% less work to make the same amount of money. So what if you put 10% on all your prices? You could actually afford to lose your worst chunk of customers, those big time stealers. You can make the same amount of money because the customers who really appreciate your value and appreciate what you do will stay with you. The customers who are the penny pinchers, who were going to go away as soon as the shop next door offered them the same thing as you do for 4p cheaper anyway, they will go. And actually what you'll find is you're working with a bunch of customers who you really enjoy working with. They match your values, and your business is great and pleasurable and really enjoyable as a result. So just a couple of tips to leave you with is the first one is obviously to have a look at your pricing. Have a look at anywhere you feel you have pressure to create a discount. Look at whether that's realistic, whether you're just falling to the customer's pressure and actually you should just stand your ground. Look at whether actually there are certain parts of what you do where you can increase prices, the bits where customers are perhaps less cost sensitive. Look also at the added value offers. How can you add something to what you do to create a really compelling offer? And last but not least, go with the Stella Artois theory and be reassuringly expensive. Thank you.
Smile, be chat, join for networking.